All right, we're going to dive right in. It's Sunday, so time for Methods of the Sima. It is February 25th. We are finally in chapter 2, The Righteousness of the Emperor. Last week we talked about the first sages, the nobility and commoners. Righteousness must involve revering one's parents and acting justly towards one's sovereign. Verse 2. In antiquity, when educating the people, the ancients had to establish standard relations between the noble and the lowly. They made sure the classes did not encroach upon each other, that virtue and righteousness did not become separated, that talent and skill did not obstruct each other, that courage and strength did not come into conflict. In this way, their strength was unified and all outlooks were in harmony. Virtue and righteousness were not separated. Talent and skill, which can be are very, are two things in the same arena, in my opinion. Courage and strength did not come into conflict. And I think we could all reflect on that in times when we've been in a dichotomous state between courage and strength, because strength involves raw input, raw ability, raw, just emotionless, almost numbers based, whereas courage is more ethical, philosophical. What are you courageous for? And so that is where I lie with that. So very interesting. They established these set rules. They revered their parents. And now let's go over to February 25th out of the Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman. The smoke and dust of myth. Keep a list before your mind of those who burned with anger and resentment about something, of even the most renowned for success, misfortune, evil deeds, or any special distinction. Then ask yourself, how did that work out? Smoke and dust, the stuff of simple myth trying to be legend. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations 12.27. Smoke and dust, the stuff of simple myth trying to be legend. The smoke and dust. This is interesting. Okay, so let's read what the authors reflected on, and then see why maybe in ancient times the separation between classes was important. And if we think about classes between our emotions, right, positive or negative, in this sense, anger. In Marcus Aurelius' writings, he constantly points out how the emperors who came before him were barely remembered just a few years later. To him, this was a reminder that no matter how much he conquered, no matter how much he inflicted his will on the world, it would be like building a castle in the sand, soon to be erased by the winds of time. The same goes for those driven to the heights of hate or anger or obsession or perfectionism. Marcus liked to point out that Alexander the Great, one of the most passionate and ambitious men who ever lived, was buried in the same ground as the mule driver. Eventually, all of us will pass away and slowly be forgotten. We should enjoy this brief time we have on earth, not to be enslaved to emotions to make us miserable and dissatisfied. Not to be enslaved to emotions. Because when you do let your emotions become out of hand, when you let strength and courage mix in the wrong way and not counteract each other, or you allow them to fight against each other, it's like what he's saying here of what are you letting affect in your world, and is it good or is it bad? And the lens through which you view it can be good or can be bad. And it's about being decisive and making sure that those dichotomies within yourself, within leadership, within ruling a nation, ruling yourself, right? At all scales. It's about making sure that being aware of that dichotomy, because art of war, right? And then taking that dichotomy, analyzing it, and using it, and understanding what is it used for and why.